Outgoing ANC Chairman David Makhura, really saying that nothing is going to stop the conference from continuing. The issue of the court interdicts is going to get the full support from the national office as well as the PEC. They'll be responding to the papers submitted by Jabulani Sithole, who is the one who deposed that affidavit, saying that the NEC was wrong then to refer the matter back to the PEC when the PEC itself was the one that was seeking the guidance from the NEC, which is the highest decision-making structure between conferences, in relation then to those 5 branches and 19 quarantine votes emanating from the Ekurhuleni conference. The other argument that Sithole makes is that the issue of these votes cannot be dealt with after this conference, and he was responding then to Jacob Khawe, the outgoing provincial secretary, who basically announced yesterday that conference would proceed, that those 5 branches would be allowed to participate in the conference but would be quarantined, and then the results would then, after the matters dealt with, then they would consider what to do with those votes. So Sithole is arguing that, well, you cannot seize a newly elected PEC with dealing with a matter of these branches when that very PEC could be affected then by the results of those 5 branches and those 19 quarantine votes. So this is where things stand. The matter is due to be heard at around 6:30 this evening, Hugo, where we know that arguments will be made. Key things that will have to be discussed, of course, is the issue of urgency, whether or not then someone like Jabulani Sithole from Ward 83 in Ekurhuleni will be prejudiced by the conference continuing to go ahead as per the endorsement of the NEC. And so, this is where matters stand. And I can see at the corner of my eye, Hugo, that Pule Mabe is also still speaking to members of the media. But David Makhura had actually clarified that he's spoken to the acting Secretary General, Paul Mashatile, regarding this matter, and he has already given an indication that they will be supporting this. Let me try then to put our mic in and hear what the discussion that Pule Mabe is having with the media is right now.
The work done by Comrade Jeff, Comrade Derek Anekom and Buitumelo Mloi had to do with really providing that necessary clarity. So they had to verify, and once they've done that work, they had to bring their report back to officials. Officials brought that to the National Working Committee. The National Working Committee took a decision that we should table this as well to the NEC, so that when we take it back to the province, we know that the issue now enjoys the full support of the National Executive Committee. So we've done exactly that, and doesn't do rightfully points. We are now at the space of conference. Now the provincial conference is the highest decision-making body in a province. The PEC is only the highest decision-making body in between conferences. Some of the decisions that the PEC would have taken, if conference arrives at a different determination, and like Comrade Makhura has said, it can do exactly that. What we did this morning, and to also answer, there was a question around what would have caused delays. What happened this morning is that we had to sit a steering committee meeting with the province and members of Comrade Mdu's committee, the National Dispute Resolution Committee, make sure that all of those disputes that they had been able to clean are then integrated into credentials. We went further and said regional secretaries, because they are part of the steering committee of conference, must also use this time while delegates are on lunch to go and just give them an update on the credentials, so that when plenary resumes, we don't get stuck on credentials. We move. I mean, this conference has been quite smooth. So far, so good. There is nothing that suggests that conference will collapse. And again, we must, even at this stage, commend and thank these delegates of Gauteng for the manner and way in which they've carried themselves. And we're hoping that we'll be able to conclude on this high note.
The reality of things is that you came into this conference with a problem that is unsolved, and you are in fact proceeding with this conference with another problem that will remain unsolved, and you are saying that the incoming PEC must sort out that problem of the quarantined votes. The incoming PEC would be the one that is elected in the midst of all of these quarantined votes. So essentially, there is a problem here. There are quarantined votes, and you are saying that a newly elected leadership must then deal with those quarantined votes.
Let's assist ENCA quickly, and for the sake of your viewers and anyone taking interest. No, you have.
That's why you're quarantined.
No,
That's why you're quarantined.
no, I don't think. You see, there are two things that happens here. You know, you could be asking a question because you really want to understand ANC processes, or you could be asking a question because you are imagining a problem yourself. So we don't have a problem.
And that's why you're there to clarify.
Yes, that's why we're talking to you. Comrade Mdu has clarified this. We have some of the issues are really of an internal nature. We have agreed that let's allow these branches of Ekurhuleni to participate in this conference, grant them that status, so that we do not hold conference at ransom only for 5 branches, which are effectively responsible for about 14 delegates. When you have got more than 1,100 and something delegates attending this conference, you'd be unfair to the entirety of the membership of the African National Congress. Results that are going to emerge in this conference are not going to be provisional results. They will be the outcomes reflective of this conference. So, are no problem. Just to clarify that, even these 5 branches, as they participate in here, they understand their status. You know, so members of the ANC who love the ANC subject and submit themselves to processes of the organization. It is not going to be them that do things or participate in activities that liquidate the African National Congress. They won't be able to do that. There has been a process of talking to these comrades. There's been a lot of work that was done. We had reached out to comrades of Ekurhuleni ourselves. I mean, I, for one, would have met with the comrade doctor and the comrade Mzwandile, who were contesting, because you would understand, because they are chairpersons, they would have been various lobby groups that would have organized themselves around them. Now, as part of uniting them and making sure that we help the region of Ekurhuleni renew itself, we had to also engage with these cadres. So this must be understood in the proper context. So once more, let me reiterate, there is no problem at all. The branches, the 5 branches that are participating, understand their status. The outcomes that will emerge here will be outcomes of conference. So I don't want us to because when we do that, confuse our society. So must not create problems, that does not transport problems. We have delegates here. Very peaceful. Let's move to another question. If you have at least the resolve it.
I'd like to ask a question to Mr. Manana. I mean, you were tasked with dealing with the disputes, and forgive me if you've responded to this, but are you confident, as now you have to go and defend your work essentially in court this evening, that you've covered all the T's and C's necessary to ensure that you don't essentially also have egg on your face if then the court grants that urgent court interdict this evening?
Well, I'm quite confident. We've cleared all disputes and appeals that came to us. As you would understand, disputes are lodged at branch level. They come to us as the PDRC and the NDRC in the form of appeals. We've cleared all of those, and we are happy with the work that we've done. There were a number of disputes, a number of appeals. Just yesterday, we resolved 2 appeals here at conference, rather 2 disputes here at conference, which are appeals, so it's one thing. Yeah, we're ready to defend. I think I would have obviously given information to our legal team as well on the work that we have done, and I'm quite confident the decisions. We've set a number of regional conferences, I think more than 35, 4 provincial conferences, and we've been doing this work. And in all these in all these processes, we've not been found wanting as the National Dispute Resolution Committee.
Just to share with you as well, because it's important, I think, so that Mdu doesn't hide the victories they've also scored, which are also important, you know, to boost confidence of our people out there. That in all these conferences, there were a chance taking here and there, the people trying courts, and we have won all of those things.
So would you describe this as chance taking by Jabulani Sithole from Ward 83?
Well, I don't know the nature of the case. I don't know the detail, but I'm just saying, I'm referring to the ones that we have had. I mean, there was a case even Pumalanga, there were people, comrades were trying their luck. You know, so in almost all these different conferences, you have had people trying their luck here and there, going to court. You know, of course, I mean, it's their right. If they feel aggrieved on a matter and they take the issue to court, we've got a legal department in the African National Congress. But we must reflect on victories we've made. Again, if you take me to court and loser, it already win then. So it must be understood like
Congratulations.
that.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you very much, Pulemabe. I mean, really, we're not really seized of talking about the victories of the ANC. I mean, at this particular point in time, several key issues are of material impact for this conference. One, that urgent court interdict then that has been filed by Jabulani Sithole from Ekurhuleni. And I think one of the reasons why then this issue of just 5 branches, you also would have heard from the tone of Pulemabe, you know, really saying that the conference can't be held at ransom as a result of 5 branches. But for some members, in particular this one that's filed an affidavit, the issue of numbers is critical because of just how tightly contested this conference is, especially when it comes then to the positions of chairperson, which you'll know already is between Lebogang Maile and Panyaza Lesufi. I mean, history tells us even when Lesufi and Maile were contesting for the deputy chairman position in the last conference, the 13th conference of Gauteng, he won. Lesufi only won by 22 votes. So the 5 branches may seem small, but it may be big for others in this conference in terms of possibly changing then the color and even the results more specifically of this conference. So we'll wait until we get to those court proceedings and hear then the arguments of the ANC. David Makhura not really wanting to give much away and saying that those matters will be ventilated in court.
Ziyanda, Ngcobo, we thank you for your time and we'll catch up with you later this afternoon.